What are some unethical and possibly illegal life hacks? I went to a university where the student to parking ratio was extremely terrible. You would basically have to show up 2 hours before class, if you lived off campus, to get a parking spot. Personally, I lived on campus, so for me parking wasn't that bad unless I left the campus before 5 PM. So every time I walked to my car later in the day, I noticed that a parking spot right in the front, prime piece of parking, always had an orange cone on it. There was nothing wrong with it, it just had an orange cone. Later that semester I had to go get something out of my car in the morning and see a guy drive up to the cone spot, get out of his car, put the cone in the trunk, and proceed to park. Turns out this guy has been doing this for months, using the cone to reserve his spot. Apparently no one ever questions or moves the cone when he places it back on the parking spot when he leaves. By adding a random one-way third leg onto a round-trip flight, you can sometimes fool the airline into dropping the fuel charges that usually add $300 $400 onto the ticket. It's called a fuel dump by frequent flyers. Example, let's say you want to save some money on your honeymoon to Tahiti. Search on Expedia for a flight from Los Angeles, LAX, to Tahiti, PPT, that departs on the 22nd of October and returns on the 28th of October. The cheapest trip is on Air France for $1,450. Now, try setting this up as a multi-leg journey on Expedia. The first 2 flights are the same as the above, but also add a third leg on the 23rd of November from Rio de Janeiro, GIG, to Vitoria, VIX. The total price of the ticket drops to $1,157. Using Air France for the LAX PPT flights and Air France's partner Gol for the regional Brazilian flight, you don't even have to fly the third leg. Call the airline and cancel after you finish the Tahiti trip. The third leg is scheduled far enough out that the frequent flyer miles from the actual trip should have already posted, so you won't lose out on them. Why does it work? The total price of an airline ticket is constructed using a complex set of rules and algorithms, especially for how to calculate all the taxes and fees and allocate them to the various government agencies and airlines involved in your trip. One of the biggest fees of all is the fuel surcharge that almost every airline charges for international trips, rather than make you pay $500 in base fare, all of which is subject to a 7.5% US government excise tax. Assuming a US departure, they will charge you $250 in base fare and $250 as a fuel surcharge that is not subject to the tax. Airline charges you the same, but pockets more. In certain cases, the algorithm for calculating when to add a fuel charge is not properly programmed to handle trips that involve multiple airlines across multiple geographies. By paying $50 or so for a one-way ticket in Brazil, the system neglects to add $350 in fuel fees for the trip to Tahiti, for a net savings of $300. There is a healthy but secretive subculture of frequent flyers who fill forums with the details when they find a combination of 1. Tickets with a low base fare and high fuel charge. I have seen transatlantic flights with a $50 base and $400 fuel charge, and 2. The right glitch in the matrix where you can make that charge go away by booking a third leg. Did this in college. Buy all your textbooks and keep the receipts. Return to the store later that day or a few days later. Most bookstores don't give 100% refunds after the first week. Grab the book you bought off the shelf. Take the book to the cashier and tell them you want to return it and show your receipt. If they require a reason, say you dropped the class or are sharing the book with a friend, get money back and leave. Never paid for books and got money back on resale at the end of the term. Most cashiers they have, especially at the beginning of the term when you are buying books, are temporary. Student workers who don't give a sh most of the time. Guys, I know it is effing illegal. The thread title asks for illegal life hacks. I'm following the mantra of the thread, YMMV. I'm not saying this would work everywhere, just that it worked for me. Some people have replied noting that it has worked for them. Some others have replied saying it works anywhere. I haven't done it since 2007, but I work in higher education and with several bookstores and have seen it will still work in some places. You don't have to say you're dropping the course. Say you found it cheaper, sharing, etc. Again, some stores may have an all sales final policy. Book serial numbers, ISBN, are the same for each edition. Volume, run, etc. Books are going to have the same barcode and serial number if you're doing this right. Yes, you could buy the books and a photocopy the book or the pages you needed and also return. Cam Scanner app is your friend. Bankruptcy won't discharge student loans. Get 50k in credit. Pay off student loans. Make minimum payment for 6 months. Stop paying for 6 months. Let them go to collections. File for bankruptcy. Bankruptcy will cost you $2k. You are now debt free. Honestly, this is the only get out of jail free card left for graduates who are underemployed, and for all the naysayers who say it can't be done, that you can't use credit cards to pay a student loan. As if no one ever in history has used a credit card to make a student loan payment. Here is a foolproof breakdown that not even internet lawyers can't shoot down. The thing with students' loans is that you can't discharge them in bankruptcy. You can't settle the amount. You have to pay in full. You can defer, but that still screws you. You can't get a break on students' loans. Some of you realize that you don't make enough money to ever get out from underneath these loans. This is a way out. First off, you are placing your credit on the sacrificial altar. You will destroy your credit with this plan, but you have a true chance at freedom. If you'd rather die a debt slave before having a bad credit rating, this plan isn't for you. What you are trying to do is convert the student's loans into something you can negotiate with. Worst case scenario, you settle for pennies on the dollar. Best case scenario, you pay nothing. This plan doesn't work if you are already broke, but if it is going to take you 20 years to get out from under your student loans, then it will work. This plan will take a few years to pull off, but you weren't gonna get rid of your debt in a few years anyway. With my plan you have a chance to be debt free. First off, it is not hard to build credit. Build your credit. Get multiple cards to where you have enough credit to pay off your student loans. Google search on how to do this. Don't go into debt other than student loans. Secure the credit. 10 credit cards with 5k each is ideal. I'll explain later. Okay. Here is the deal. You've built up a mediocre credit score and you have enough credit to nearly pay off student loans. 10 credit cards with 5k each is ideal. I'll explain later. Your debt to credit ratio looks awesome here. Now the plan begins. You begin to live off your credit cards. Gas, groceries, rent, car repair, whatever your living expense are. Use the credit cards. Since you are living off credit, you now have a full paycheck to send to your student loans. Each month you are sending $2,000 to your student loans. Do not use credit cards to pay the student loans. Send the cash from your paychecks. Once the student loans are paid off, you now have 50k in unsecured debt. Anyone who looks it over will see that you spent that money on living expenses. Time to pull the plug. Stop paying all of your credit cards. Save up your money and get prepared. Credit cards won't negotiate with you until you are 180 days past due. At that point begin settling for pennies on the dollar. You have 10 credit cards at 5k each. Tell each one of them that you are thinking about declaring bankruptcy if you can't settle. Offer $1,250 to settle the 5k balance, 25 cents on the dollar. Tell them that you have 9 other creditors to call if they don't take it, then someone else will, and that they are at risk of getting nothing at all if they don't settle. This works. Some creditors play ball, some don't. This is your chance to settle before they write off your debt and sell it to a collections agency. So let's say you didn't settle with any of them. You should have been saving your money. This is important. You need $5k in reserves. Well, if you didn't settle, nothing is going to happen. You are going to collections and you will get nasty grams, but that is it. Check your state. But statute of limitations is 4 years for California. That means that unless they sue you and get judgment, they have no legal recourse to get their money back. That can't garnish your wages, nothing. They are out of luck. So a month before the statute of limitation you will get sued by these 10 junk debt creditors. Maybe have your debt lawyer. Has to be a credit card debt lawyer. Answer each lawsuit. Do not do this on your own. You will F yourself. You've been saving up your money for this. The junk debt creditors literally have thousands of claims that are about to expire, so they file a suit as a last-ditch effort. If you just ignore it, then they automatically win the lawsuit. This is a numbers game and it works. Many people just ignored it. This whole process takes another year. Here is why you want to keep each credit card under 5k. In most states, Under $7,500 is small claims court. The chances of a junk debt creditor actually following through and taking the case to trial is slim to none. Especially if you have a lawyer who knows his stuff and will fight it. These junk debt creditors don't even have the paperwork necessary to prove that you owe the debt. So if it went to trial, your lawyer could get it tossed out easy. Trials cost money for these guys. They have to spend money to take you to trial, and if they lose, they've lost even more money. You're basically too much of a hassle to bother with, so they drop suit. Now on the off chance that they do pursue this and the junk debt creditor has done his homework, just settle the damn thing. 20 cents on the dollar or less. Let's say, impossible scenario, you get sued by all 10 creditors for $5,000 each. Declare bankruptcy. That will knock the judgments down or eliminate them completely. If they ask what you spent it on, all the credit card statements will show living expenses, not student loans. How are they going to put you on the hook for this? It was years ago. You irresponsibly used credit cards and you can't make the payments. Just like everyone else, they cannot prove you pulled this huge scheme to get out of your student loans. At this point it has been 5 years since you last made a credit card payment. You either paid nothing or settled $50,000 in debt with $10,000. In 2 more years all of those black marks will have fallen off your credit report and you be back at a 720 rating and debt free. It's totally effing worth it.